Hi, folks. I am super excited to be with Coach Aaron Mitchell, Mr. Aaron Mitchell, out of St. Thomas More Collegiate. Mr. Mitchell, I have to say, every time you walk into a room or a gym, I get super excited because I know the energy is going to be flowing. Welcome.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. It's episode 2, buddy. When you make it big time here, I can say I was one of the first. I mean, you went family first and then me. So what an honor. And I appreciate our relationship over the years. Getting to know you coming out to your tournament, which seems a long time ago, man. A lot has happened in that time. So I do appreciate the compliment, and I'm really excited about today. It's going to be fun. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it too. I appreciate from an direct standpoint, like you've had a lot of influence on me, and I know you have a podcast yourself, and that was a huge inspiration for the start of this. So a lot of the kudos goes to you. So I appreciate that.
cool.
Just a bit of an intro for our listeners, Mr. Mitchell. So we can cut out the Wikipedia here. I'll just give it to you straight. So we're going to 1994 provincial champs at Terry Fox Secondary with the famous Rich Chambers. And actually
Yes,
you
sir.
beat, I want to say, Richmond in the final.
Yes, sir.
And Bill Dillsborough was the other coach. And I just looked at the provincial rankings for coaches coached in the provincials, games coached, and games won. And Rich and Bill are at the top of the list. That is wild. That's decades of basketball.
Yeah.
But you're still a young buck.
Yeah. Careful.
In that same provincial championship, you were a second team All-Star. We're going to fast forward to 1998, where you were with the Langara Falcons, national champs, and back-to-back, and tourney MVP, and also back-to-back player of the year for CCAA, which is incredible. Topped by a back-to-back academic All-Canadian. I think you averaged, I think I found some stats somewhere where you averaged 20 and 10 throughout those couple of years. So incredible career. And then again, capped off by being inducted into the CCAA Hall of Fame. Like that's unbelievable. Like you must have played with some pretty amazing people. Actually, I know you have, looking at the record books, but just to be a provincial champ and a national champ in a span of 4 years, that's pretty incredible. What are your thoughts on that?
I've never really thought of it like that, to be honest. A span of 4 years, it's never really processed that way. You know what? It just was an honor to play with so many great guys and be around so many great coaches. The teams and the cultures we had just clicked. And, in your playing career and coaching career, so many things have to fall in line. You may have a team that you think can win it and you don't even get close. And you may have a team that you think, we're kind of on the outskirts this year, and they just click, right? And they get it done at the moment, the word peaking or whatever. So just really great teammates. Playing with national team guys like Randy Knorr and others. And, Dave Morgan was my high school teammate. He was 6'11", played Division I. Like it takes a whole bunch of people, and then a lot of belief and a lot of real good culture. So yeah, those were great years, man. Really, really good years.
Well, reading the kind of the Wikipedia page, I kind of made it up myself, but like I was like, oh, this list doesn't end. Like it's pretty incredible. I don't know what your definition of success is, but you've obviously accomplished a lot. You're well known in the province, in the city, provincial tournament. Everyone's says your name. Who helped you get to where you are? Like either growing up from a developmental standpoint, and even to where you are now. Who are the kind of people that walked alongside you?
Yeah, I'd have to definitely go back. It's kind of, depending on people's situation and how they grew up, but my parents were my foundation. They set the table for me. My dad was the old store manager of Woodward's department store. If for the people that know what that is, that's like the OG of Walmart. So that's where you could one-stop shop everywhere. You get clothes, food, whatever you need. So he traveled around. He was originally from Esquimalt, and grew up like Esquimalt used to be pretty rough back in those days. Of course, as we get older, those stories get better. And so he probably lied a little bit, but his dad died at a young age, and he was the oldest of 4 brothers. And I think he stepped into more of a parenting role younger than he needed to be, just to be the big bro. And so I watched a guy who was willing to work hard for his family. You know, we were a middle-class family, and my brother was born in Calgary. He's 3 years older. Then we moved to Penticton. I was in Penticton for a few years, and then we were in Victoria, and then we were in the mainland. So I moved to the mainland here when I was like grade 5, I think. So, but a little bit of traveling when we were younger. But watching him just sort of sacrifice, be the breadwinner, you know, him and my mom were just. I remember my dad, he bought me an old Pittsburgh Pirates hat back in the day, and they had all-stars on them. And so we started goal setting when we were young. And it wasn't even about, sometimes it was sports related, but it was also life related too. And, you know, like cleaning your room and things like that. And so every time that, you know, if some, you know, I had a week of whatever, you know, I'd earn a star and then more stars on the hat. So just those little foundational things, you know, they were just so instrumental to me in teaching me how to be kind, how to be respectful, how to be a hard worker. And then obviously as you move along in your life and what we do for a living, you know, the teachers around me and the coaches that I was able to be a part of just started to shape my life as well.
Did you face any, well, maybe there's a little bit there, but did you face any
Mhm.
barriers or challenges growing up?
You know what? We lived a pretty good life. My parents worked hard. My mom was a chain smoker, unfortunately. So she passed away my first year at STM, like 21 years ago, but I was still pretty young. I was only 27, right? So that was a bit of a tough thing to go through. But we lived a pretty solid life. If you're asking sports related, you know, one of the things about me was I was a good athlete. I loved all sports, but you know, for my position and what I played, I was very undersized. And so I had to make up for a lot of my stuff with some intelligence. And I know that, you know, I got cut from certain teams and didn't make certain teams. And those things were hard to deal with as well. But I think that's where you learn and grow too. So yeah, overall, as you know, as a family, you know, we lived a good, solid life in Coquitlam. We didn't go without. I mean, we definitely weren't at the top of the scale or the food chain financially, but we had a good life, and my parents were supportive of anything my brother and I wanted to do. Yeah.
In kind of with this theme, um, you know, what are your thoughts or what are your plans for paying it forward to others who, you know, maybe want to be a great basketball player or a great coach? I mean, you've won a provincial title as a player and a coach, so you obviously have the pedigree along with your long list of accolades. But have you thought about some of those things other than, you know, just coaching with your high school team?
I think about it all the time. I think about, you know, through my school, I've had the opportunity to travel a little bit. I spent time in 2009. I went to Kenya for 4 weeks. And so I got to work in the second largest slum in the world at the time, an area called Kibera. And there's 1 million people, no running water. People live in huts and they live off, you know, $2 to $4 a day. And so the thing that really taught me from that experience was, to just be a kind person. Like there's really no reason to be like a prick. I don't know if you're going to have to beep that out or not, but you know, being kind to people really doesn't take much. And it's something I try to model to the kids I coach. And you talked about that when I walk into a room or my energy, like that's intentional. I want people to feel good around me. I want people to feel like they matter and that I have time for them. And I think that is a big foundation of kind of how you become successful. And I think, but I also think, like you've talked about at the start of the episode here, you can't get success without failures as well, right? You've got to learn how to grow and be better. And so, when you're around people that are modeling that for you, you mentioned like a Rich Chambers, Doug Binns, Don Van Oss. Those are my coaches, even my baseball coaches when I was a kid. Just sort of when you're seeing that being modeled, I think we either are too dumb as young kids to not pay attention, or we're just kind of internalizing it. I think that's what I think. And so just being aware at a young age and being aware of my surroundings, of what was happening. I don't know if this is answering your question or if I'm rambling too much here, but, and then I think you just start to go with trial and error. Like there's lots of things I look back in my young coaching career that I go, oh, like I wish I could change that, or I wish I could have treated that kid differently, or, I spent a lot of time thinking I was going to be Rich Chambers. And then I was like, I'm a different personality than Rich Chambers. I have to be true to who I am. And I think that's all part of the learning and growing process. And then you get to where we are, bud, and we're in midlife.
Right.
And how do we continue to grow from here and realize we're not at the peak and we need to keep pushing and learning? And so life's an up and down process. And I think no matter where you are with it, as long as you're open to it and to admitting your failures and mistakes and asking for help and being open to good feedback and listening to that feedback, then you will find success in whatever it is you're trying to do. Yeah.
I love that. And I think about one of the teachers that I recently worked with, at the ripe old age of 60, was willing to change his assessment practices and approach to all of his classes. And that's hard to do, as a teacher who's about to retire. And like, am I just going to be complacent and pack it in? Or am I willing to change with the, hey, buddy,
You're rooming the episode. Do you want to say hi to Dan?
Hello.
how's it going?
He said, how's it going?
Good.
We're just getting ready for bed, aren't we? He likes to always pop into the podcast, but he's like
It makes it better.
part celebrity. Yeah.
It makes it
Hey,
better.
good night. Love you. Have a good sleep, okay? See you in the morning. Can you close the door behind you? Thanks, bud. Say bye to Dan.
Bye-bye.
See you, buddy.
Good night. Love you.
I love that. That's so good.
Yeah.
But Dad, I was in
keep
bed
it
at
in if you want.
8:30. Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it. Such a good point, though. I mean, like, you think about a teacher of that vintage. Like, I remember when I first started STM, we were using the attendance was the bubble sheets, right? And then you did first block attendance on the bubble sheet. It went down. The front office lady ran it through. Then she saw who was away, not there, called. And then all of a sudden, we're at a point where, like, every kid has a Chromebook and you can basically just teach. We have Google Classroom, and like, think about somebody who, like, if that was us right now, we go through that in our next 20 years, right? It's the point you're making with just sort of, and how does that make you feel in your role, right? Like, when you see of all the stuff that you have to deal with in your job, and then you've got someone who's like really willing to change, like, that can't do anything other than just make you feel like, man, I need to do a good job too,
Let's switch gears here a little bit. I look at the provincial championships. I've been a part of that for a better part of a decade now, and behind the scenes. What are your thoughts on the era now compared to the 90s when you played?
Yeah. And kudos to you, Verinder, all those guys at the 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A levels. That's a slog of a time, man, between going to do the draw and then the time that you guys put in. That's 4 like 16-hour days, man. You guys must be exhausted. So what people need to realize is that tournament is run majority on the back of volunteers. And without people like you and the others, it just wouldn't be as special as it is. And so I walk around and have this whatever president role, but I'm not doing anything. Like, you guys are doing the real work. So I just want to take a moment and just say thank you to you publicly for and all the other people for the work they do. And I know you do it because you love it and you wouldn't change it, and you must get something from it. Just like, that's why we do things and why we give back. But it does mean a lot. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you too as well. Right. It takes a small army to run a massive event like that, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. No, I think I think we're in a weird space with basketball. I think the biggest thing that the difference is, and I'm not going to sit here and be like my era, but like, I think about playing at Terry Fox in 1994, 95. There was Terry Fox, Port Moody, Centennial in the Tri-Cities, right? Now you've got Glen Eagle, you've got Riverside, you've got Heritage Woods. I'm going to miss some for sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've got so many more schools because it's just the population is increased, right? Which means, the 94 final, I think there was like 11 guys that played post-secondary basketball in that final alone, right? There's Heinrichsen and Mavis, both Olympians. They ended up being 2000 Olympians. They were both in that tournament. Bobby Singh was like I think he won every ring, right? A CFL, an XFL, an NFL, right? And so, that was the talent that was on the floor. And I think the way that when you add more schools, the talent's just going to spread out further, right? Or maybe depending on what happens with certain schools, like the rich get richer or whatever, but that's a whole separate podcast, I think. So I think it's good. I think it's amazing because we've never had more kids playing. It's just a gray area. I'm not a big guy I'm not jumping into a club. It's just not my thing. We run a couple little camps at our school. But when there's bread on the table, it's weird for me. It's not what was shown to me as a young person. And so the idea of paying it forward and giving back to something for free, I think is really important. I think we've lost a lot of that, and not just in basketball. I think just globally in general, people giving their time and not expecting anything in return is a lost thing. So I just worry about the state of the game and what direction we're going, in the sense of, you're in education, teacher coaches, man, like they're the foundation. Those are the people that motivated you to want to go play football somewhere, in Ontario, right? And we're losing them. And I don't know what we need to do to get it back, because it affects culture, or whether it's the drama teacher or the band teacher that takes the kids on trips. Like, all those things are it's all that stuff that's extracurricular, where we all remember, right? It's anybody can teach the content. Like, anybody can teach the content. It's, can you connect it? And then how do you help them learn and grow outside the classroom? So I think there's a lack of teacher coaches, which is a big fear. And God bless the people, the dads and the moms that follow their kid up and coach a program for 5-6 years, or just give their time like that. I'm not knocking anybody that's doing that, but we have so many kids playing. Is the game really improving? Like, there were some really bad games at the provincials this year. I'll just say it. I didn't coach this year, and I got to see more. Usually I just focus on our team and, leave right after the game and go watch tape or whatever. And I watched and I was like, man, like, just the style of play is very different. The kids are way more skilled and way more athletic, for sure. And that's just evolving. Like, it should be that way. Do they think the game better though? Like, I remember when we first started STM, the dry erase board was full for a scout. Top 7-8 players on every team. Tendencies. They run this, they run that. We're forcing this guy that way. And then here's what we're going to do. And each year, even within our program, our scouts get shorter and shorter and shorter, because the retention. I'm rambling. You got me going, but I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Just
I
that
love it too.
overall X's and O's and feel of the game, and shade this guy left. This is a 3-point shooter. Deny this guy. I don't know if kids are as adapt to that as maybe our era was. I don't know what that is. I think they don't watch basketball anymore, right? Like, I was super happy to sit down on Sundays and turn on NBC and get any NBA game I could as a kid. I would watch March Madness religiously. My dad would let me skip one day a year, and it was to go to the BCs, to go to the Agrodome and eat Dole Whip and watch these guys, right? And watch how they play, how they interact with each other, how they communicate. And I think a lot of kids they like the game, but I don't think they'll sit and watch and be like, oh, what's Duke doing right now? And how's it being guarded, or what's happening there? And that has a lot to do with kind of the clip world we're in. It's easy to you can get a game in 48 seconds now, and you can see what happened, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
So it's always a special weekend. The provincials are amazing. The turnouts are so great. The support from the community, the job that the LEC does, Christina and Jason Winslade, like, well done. They just kill it every year. But overall, could we be doing better with the kids we have and the talent? I think we could push the limits a little bit, but that's just me personally. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. On that note, I have this conversation with my dad all the time, because he despises the NBA, but loves March Madness because the kids play for the school, they play for each other, right? And I think about, I'm not that far removed, but when I played high school, nobody was stat chasing, right? No, all these club programs and even high schools, right? They have, the cameras set up and they send it off to Huddle or these other third parties, and they break it down for you. And I'm not saying all kids do this, but there has to be some level of stat chasing and sending this off to wherever, right, and get to the next level. So I agree with you. The thoughts behind the game, looking at other teams' film. I don't know if those things are happening. I mean, certainly not the 7 a.m. teacher coach opening up the gym and shooting hoops for an hour before class. I don't that's a rare occurrence. From what I remember, like 15, 20 years ago, you hear about the Rich Goulets, like all those kind of coaches opening up the gym, and like, oh well, we gotta catch up to those guys, right? We gotta be in the gym too because they are.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. But you're also getting like you got a program like Oak Bay, for example, who can't get in their school at Christmas break. They got
mm,
to rent the private school and pay for it to go just so they can practice, right? So it's like, what are we doing in some of these systems? And I am fully aware I'm privileged and work in an independent school. And I know what people have thoughts about that. And I'm 100% aware that we have a lot of benefits that other schools don't. But like, we can't get in to let a coach practice with a team over Christmas break. Like, what are we doing? And just like this, the respect for the game too, right? Like, what are we wearing to and from the game, and what are coaches wearing to the games, and why are we reaming out scorekeepers? Like, let's coach our kids and be respectful. And teach them what it means to be a young man or woman, and hopefully they learn something. If they happen to move on and play post-secondary, great. But
mhm,
what a failure if they go 4 or 5 years at high school and don't learn anything about themselves or the real world by playing a sport, That'd be really
totally.
sad, right? And
Yeah,
so,
totally. And
you know,
just on that note, with the LEC, uh, we had an agreement with, well, I think you were aware about this, but all the coaches wearing professional wear.
mhm.
And that could be even just, a nice set of joggers and a collared shirt, but definitely no hats. So that was something that we're encouraging all levels, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A coaches, like, hey, in that coaches meeting, we don't really want to see hats anymore, because you're representing yourself, your school, the kids, and you're being live streamed, right? So it definitely
Yeah.
sends a message to look the part, to your point.
Yeah, no, I could go on forever about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm super interested, with someone, who has the pedigree that you do, up and coming coaches. We've kind of talked a little bit about it, but how do we get other people involved? How do we get people interested in the sport? And how do we get,
Mhm.
most importantly, as you said earlier, to learn those life lessons as they move forward? How do we get people involved and equip these up and coming coaches?
That's a loaded question, right? I think there's a few things. One of the things that for us as an executive with BC School Sports kind of being more hands-on with things now, one of the things we want to focus on is mentorship for young coaches, because it's something that we can do. And so how do we get young people to kind of give back? And I think there's a few things. I think you have to work hard in your program and set the example and show what a good program looks like, and not have it be about success in terms of wins and losses, but growth and development. And at the end of those seasons, like, we're in our locker room, go through all our seniors or whatever, and every now and then there'll be a kid and we'll say flat out, like, I see you as a coach, and telling these people, have you ever thought about being a coach? Like, having that conversation, right? And then I think just young coaches too, it's a weird space, because I can't blame a 22-year-old who, if X club says, hey, we need you to come coach our U12s in the fall and spring, and we'll give you $5,000, or you can go coach the grade 8s at STM for absolutely nothing. Right. Just so everybody knows, like, our coaching staff doesn't get 10 grand a year to coach. Just want to I know we are a private school, but right. So there is that, right? So how do you blame someone? You're living in the city, even though it doesn't matter where you are in the valley. Like, I want to get a mortgage. I want to move on with my life. That's something that could be a down payment. So I understand that. Um, but I think also the young coaches that I know, the ones that are really into it and working it, are putting their face in every gym they possibly can. There's a young coach, Pat, who is at Tupper for a bit. He coached the men and the women at Langara this year. He coaches a club. Yeah, he went to Tupper practices when he could. He is willing to get in front of as many people as he possibly can. Not YouTube, right? Not reading online, because it's the relationships and the people. And you know this, it's all about the connection. And so I think young coaches need to get their reps, but they also need to seek out people as well. Coach, people we've had on our podcast, which we're going to talk about, but just that say, oh, like this guy, Manny Dosange, was a guy from Ontario. He would drive down to the States and just go to D1 practices all over. Like, and coaches are like, it's open door. You would think D1's like closed door, you're not allowed in. No, the doors are open. We got no secrets, right? So I think it's up to older people to search out those young people and find out who they are, have the conversation. Are you interested in it? And I think young people also have to put themselves out there and get in those gyms and get in the face-to-face with those people, see the different levels, coach 10-year-olds, coach juniors, go to U Sport games, go to CCAA Pac West games, like see it all and see what it's like, you know? Yeah, it's difficult because, do you see that? Do you think that's a thing? Like we're lacking young coaching?
Yeah, I think, there's the last 5-10 years, there's been, a bit of a shift towards club basketball. And I'm not saying this applies everywhere, but, money talks a little bit. And if you have somebody who's working at school X and they're like, well, I can get 5-10 grand over the summer by coaching a certain club, more incentive for me to do that as opposed to being in my own gym. So I think there's a little bit of that. But, to your point, I was, as a previous coach myself, like I was super intentional around bringing teams to UFE games or, SF or not SFU, but a bit of a far drive, but Trinity games, just to get the exposure. And, like you said earlier, you see those kids who are leaders and excited about the game. You're like, hey, come help me with this spring camp, or let's go to the middle school and, run a couple of days after school. Right. And I think those are the small things that go a long way. And yeah, to your point, they almost have to do, nothing's going to be handed to them. I was very fortunate to have Verinder Brach, who, with the program that we were running at Bateman at one point, like we would go down to Vegas and go to those Nike coaches conferences. Like those things were amazing. Acknowledging that can't happen every single year. So yeah, we would go for a bit of a journey to other games and other coaches, and even just meet up for a coffee. Be like, hey, what are you guys doing? And how are you guys running your program? That's my hope. As my kids get older, there's programs out there that are sustainable, efficient. It's not just a one and done coach. It's somebody who's been there for a few years, at least to get it going, right? Those are my hopes and dreams, at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that was one of the things, sorry, just to piggyback on that was, at our program, like people were like, oh my gosh, were you like nervous to take a year off? And I was like, no, because we've got 6 alumni coaches in our program that aren't teachers. We have 2 more that are teachers that are alumni, but there's 6 guys between our 8s, juniors, and seniors that are coming back and giving their time because we tried to work that mentorship intentionally, right? So I think they're willing and they want to do it and they want that connection. So I think it's there. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. Kind of leads into the next question I have for you. How
look at that,
is
look at that.
Look at that. How
like we know what we're doing.
The game of basketball a great teacher of life for not just kids but young adults? What are your perspectives on the role that basketball can play?
How long you want this answer to be?
As long as you want.
I mean, what doesn't it teach you, right? It teaches you hard work. It teaches you time management. It teaches communication skills. It teaches you to be vulnerable, to put yourself out there, to try to do things that maybe you're not good at and try to improve at them. It teaches you how to work within a team and with different personalities. I mean, these are all things that you're going to use in your adult life, no matter what career you choose. And even if you win the lottery and don't ever work a day in your life, you still have to be around people and you have to manage relationships, right? And if you want to have a partner, if that's a goal for you, you need to know how to communicate, right? And so it's the greatest tool ever. Sport is the greatest tool. I'm obviously totally biased, but I don't know what else is out there that can do all those things for you in a high school setting. There's no classroom that can do that. The club system is great and all, but a lot of that parents are traveling with them, you go to a tournament in Victoria and you're 15 years old and your parents give you like $100 for the weekend. There's a lot of things you got to figure out,
Yep.
and you got to be in the lobby because coach says bus leaves at 9 or vans leave at 9. And we do a thing for every minute late. the kids do 2 laps of the cars, right? And then it just piles up, so just so many different things. So
Mhm.
it's the greatest tool, and it's and I think, our perspective from our program, it's not about, we're not trying to get kids to play post-secondary. If we do, it's really like, what are they going to learn along the way? And what in 10, 15 years will they come back and say, oh, I remember this and I remember that, or I used this in a job interview. I remember this, we
Mhm.
always say, if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late, right?
I
That's our
love that.
philosophy for practice. Games, it's an hour. It's an hour. And if the game's in Langley, you better be there. And if you're not there at 1 and the game's at 2 and you're a starter, you ain't starting.
Mm.
Sorry,
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think those are boundaries that you just have to stick to, and you can't bend, because the kids will see it. But I think there's so many great things that they'll take away in these experiences. And I know you believe the same.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. Um, just switching gears now to your own podcast that you have started. I think you're on year 5 now.
Yeah, it'll be 6 in April. Yeah.
6 in April.
Yeah.
Oh, a Hoops Journey podcast with Aaron Mitchell. It's a great listen. Again, this is one of the podcasts that have inspired me, along with Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you're a fan of Huberman Essentials, but there's
Yep.
2
Oh, yeah.
podcasters that I listen to.
He's a beauty.
Yourself and Mr. Huberman. So, or Dr. Huberman, I should
Very
say.
similar. Very
Yes,
similar.
very similar. Similar beard tone is great.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to dive in a little bit. What was the inspiration behind the podcast? I mean, you've had Jay Triano, just a couple of names to rattle off. Jay Triano, Bridget Carlton, Jack Armstrong, voice of the Raptors, Tim McAuliffe, Sportsnet, previously The Score, Kevin Pangos, like the list goes on. I think you're on, coming up on 180, 90 episodes.
180, yeah. Friday will be 180, yeah.
So first off, congrats. That's a huge milestone. But
Thanks.
yeah, let's go back to the inspiration.
Well, my wife will tell you that I'm just finally being gregarious extrovert is paying off for once, and she, all the stuff that I do that annoys her is finally doing something good for others. I don't know. I love podcasts too. I learn a lot. I think there's power in storytelling, right? I think there's so much power in the classroom as coaches in your careers. If you can share stories with people, that's how people connect. When you tell people what to do, it's just a little side rant, but that's why I enjoy podcasts, is because you hear vulnerable, good stories. And so, I don't know if you know Ed LaFergie. He was at Semiamu for a bit. Yeah. So this was, when we started 2020. So probably around 2019, he just texted me one day. He's like, hey man, you ever think about doing a podcast? Like, I think you'd be really good at it. And he's like, there's gotta be, and he just sends me this list of people that he thinks. And then I'm like, nah, in my head, I'm like, nah, but I'm like, yeah, there are a whole bunch of great people, because, you like Huberman or some of these other pods, they get like elite people. But I'm like, there's a whole bunch of people just below that and just below that in whatever the status of life, quote unquote, is. Not, no shade, but like, there's a lot of great people that have great stories that maybe just don't get the opportunity because they're not in those platforms. They're not in the same rooms as, higher end people. And so I thought, you know what, maybe we'll give this a try. And then COVID hit, and it was like, well, what better time to give this a go,
Mm-hmm.
And, in like your first 15 episodes, you've got like Steve Maga, who was a U Sport Player of the Year, national team player. You got Jay Triano, and you're just like, whoa, there's actually some really good stuff here. And you've got Val Dillon, who's been coaching at Burn Creek for 20 years, like, one of the hardest jobs to do, and a community guy. And you're like, this is really fun. And then you're going to find too, is you get that competitive spirit comes back to you, right? And you're like, okay, I started this, I threw myself out there. Because how many podcasts have you seen come and go? I've seen a lot. And so then that competitive spirit comes in, and you just like selfishly learn so much too, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I read, sorry to cut you off, but I think I read on Google, 94% of podcasts don't make it past the 2-year mark.
Wow.
I'm like, because I was, just starting this thing, and I'm like, I'm super passionate. It's kind of brought me joy, in some other areas of my life. And I'm like, this is incredible, right? The storytelling, as you mentioned, but I just want to hit a year and see where it goes. That's my goal. But
sure.
Yeah, no, this is super cool.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really good. And it's just, there's just great people, and it kind of, and I think if you do a good job and present yourself well, then Bridget Carleton is willing to, and it's through those connections and relationships, right? Like I graduated from Brandon University in Manitoba. There's like 6,000 people that go to that school, right? It has nothing. It's a bachelor's in education. That's what the piece of paper said. But there were people that I could pick up the phone and call and email and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, and boom, right? It's the same thing in the podcast world, right? If you do a good job, someone's like, yeah, you know what? It'd be cool. You'll have a good time. Chop it up with them, And so it's just a fun adventure. And if you can find the time to balance it and make it work, we tell our kids that we teach and work with as well, like pursue your passions. Don't just have your job, like find other things. And then this is a big passion for me. So it's great. So it's filling a lot of buckets for me as well, selfishly. So, and as you'll find, as you're doing right now, you learn how to listen and shut up a lot too. You really got to be engaged, right? And if you want to build off what someone's saying, you have to be engaged in listening. And that's not always easy on a Thursday night when Ken Shields is 17 minutes into a story about a basketball game in 1981. You know what I mean? And my ADHD brain is thinking about the first point he made, and he's made 4 other great points. And I'm like, right. But you learn and grow as a person as well, Yeah. I don't know if my wife would tell you I'm a better listener, but
well, I'll ask her next week. Hopefully I get a chance to meet her and your kid. What's the long-term plan with the podcast? Are you hoping to continue this, shift gears somewhere else, or?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it rolling. I'm enjoying it. I do have like an idea for maybe a secondary one that I've been like swirling around in my brain, but I don't know, it's tabled for now, but it's just really cool. I've got a guy in the community who supports it, which allows me I can pay someone to edit the podcast for me, right? So I just do the extroverting and talking, which is great. So yeah, just keep reaching out, keep growing. I've thought about maybe doing like a coaching one on the side, right? So if we get a coaching episode, a coach, make it more coaching based. So like, hoops journey X's and O's or something where you can get a little more into, here's your story, but also like, what's your philosophy, with 12 seconds left and you got the ball in the backcourt or whatever, But yeah, just keep growing, constantly listening and seeing how we can change the format, change questions, things like that. And just keep it going, man. It's been really, really fun. And it's funny. I know to you, you're like, holy crap, 6 years, but I'm like, I still feel like I'm learning and changing and growing every day. We messaged about that. I think I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. You're like, 173, I drive in the car and I listen. I'm like, stop saying like,
Right.
So it's just those little things, which is, as former athletes, those competitive juices come out in different ways. And I think this is a really healthy way, right? So
Totally. Yeah. Okay, last question before we get into the rapid fire portion of it. But in general, what are your hopes and dreams for a very broad question, but what are your hopes and dreams for yourself the next 5 to 10 years?
I want to be the best dad and husband I can be. That's important to me. Our son is adopted, and so we had lots of challenges as a couple trying to have a baby. My wife is like an absolute warrior. She had multiple miscarriages, and it was a real hard time in our life. So I want to be a good positive example for our little guy and just, be a role model for him, and just be the best husband I can. And then I think a big thing for me is just continuing to, I've said it a bunch, but really it's true, just to keep learning and growing and challenging myself, and to try to impact the world, just be a positive person, make people feel like they matter and be there for each other and just try to be just a good human. 10 years from now, I'd like to be closer to retirement, but honestly, I know my wife, when she's ready to retire, she'll go out the door and won't look back. I don't know. I get a lot of energy from the kids. They keep me young, all their dumb lingo and the way they speak to each other and just the stuff that they do really gives me a lot of purpose too. So, hey, if someone wants to hire me as a podcaster and actually pay me, then I'll retire. That would be a good 5-year plan. But honestly, buddy, just keep learning, growing, and having fun. We only get one kick at this thing. And I was listening to Jason Williams on his podcast, Hoopin' and Hollerin' today. The guy cracks me up. I love him. But he's like, I'm 50. And it's a good point. Like, he's saying it sarcastically, but he's like, I got less years left than I do. He's like, I'm not living another 50. And the host is saying, well, maybe you will. He's like, okay, I could do 30. Then I'm like, damn, like that's a real thing, right? And so we got to take advantage of the time that we have and just keep doing the best we can and take care of each other. You know, it's cheesy, but I'm a firm believer in it.
No, I was just going to say thank you for being vulnerable and sharing those thoughts. Midlife crisis is a thing. I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but those thoughts definitely pop in my head. I'm like, man, how much time do I have left on this earth, right? And I think it's kind of the reason why I started this thing is, just to, it's for my kids, but just to give back to the community and share story and experiences that other people have had, and just see where they take it, right? But
well, there's cool things too, like Dan, that you're going to experience. Like now, anytime anybody wants, they can go listen to Rich Goulet's voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? The guy passed away, and now there's an episode there where it was just a legend in the game, and I'm guessing that some of his former players probably have gone back and listened to it more than once. And how freaking cool is that? You know?
That's
so,
super cool.
Yeah, it's those things, right? Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for some rapid fire before we close it off?
I don't know. Am I?
Oh, we'll see. Okay. These are easy. We'll start with the first one.
Kids would say light work. They'd say light work.
Light work.
All right. Okay.
Favorite basketball player?
All time?
All time.
Magic Johnson.
Okay. How come? I need a rationale now.
I love the way he played. I love how he played to the crowd, the energy he brought. He looked like a great teammate. He was a passer. He knew that success wouldn't happen unless his teammates succeeded as well, and he couldn't do it himself. And he just had a real energy and passion for the game. And I just loved the style and the way that he played. And I was really drawn to it as a young person. So, and I had some coaches along the ways tell me to stop talking to the crowds when they're chirping me and stuff like that. And that would bring me energy too, right? So that would be, and I mean, he changed the game, right? I don't think there's a lot of guys that are playing the game now at 6'8" because of Magic Johnson and how he played the game. So yeah. Is that a good enough answer?
I love that. That's a great answer.
Okay.
Favorite coach?
Oh, dude, come on.
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
You said this was going to be easy. That's not fair. Oh.
Can I get, is it Rich Chambers?
Can I say life? No, I'm kidding. It's got to be Richie Chambers for me. I mean, I played for Jerry Hemmings, who was a national team. I played for Kevin Hansen. Don Van Oss was the co-coach at Fox as well. Like just so many great coaches. But I literally transferred schools so I could play for Rich Chambers. I was supposed to go to Centennial. I was at Charles Best. It was grade 8, 9, and 10. I'm in grade 9, and I come home and my mom says to me, so did you hear Mr. Chambers is leaving? And I literally turned into a toddler. I laid down on the floor and started bawling. My brother was 3 years older, got a chance to play for him. I went to his camps. He invited me to play senior spring league when I was in grade 8, because I would always just go. He's like, why don't you bring your shoes? So I'm playing senior ball in grade 8, out at Maple Ridge, and then my parents were like, if this is really something you want to do, because we would love for you to play for Coach Chambers too, let's figure it out. So I took the bus to Mary Hill every day, and then I ended up going to Fox and becoming a teacher coach. I just loved the way he was. And this is a side note that I think is important, is that he was such a great teacher. He was such a good teacher. The kids loved him because he was personable. He cared, and he didn't treat the basketball kids or sports kids with any extra. He taught all the kids the same way. And he used to do the midterm report, and you had to handwrite it. He would write paragraphs and paragraphs to each kid. And he would talk. Over 50% of that was all the good that he saw in you and all the things that he thinks you're capable of. Not that you don't turn your homework in or you're not on time. I think you're good at this. I think you're a leader. I think you're outgoing. I vividly remember those moments, and I remember the energy he brought to the classroom and how he never took himself serious. Him and the other teachers would prank each other. He'd always dress up, in different costumes, and the kids just freaking loved him. So more than just a coach. And then when it was basketball time, it was flipping basketball time. And there the expectations were high, the standards were high, and if you didn't live up to it, you were going to hear it. But if you screwed up and then you did something good, he'd be the first person to tell you when you did something good too. So it's got to be Richie. And the fact that he's still out there doing it, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. You think of the generations of types of kid he's seen, and he's still out there, man. And he looks great. So, yeah, shout out to Rich Chambers, the legend, and he's impacted so many people's lives. It's got to be in the thousands of thousands. It's crazy.
Oh, easily. And it's funny being at the provincials now for a few years. I feel like he hasn't changed. Like he's just the same,
right?
Spitting image.
Yeah,
every year.
And you know what? The thing that I respect is sometimes he goes, you know what? Could I soften up a little bit? Maybe. But like the standards are still high. You still got to go to class. You still got to work hard. You still got to know who Terry Fox is and represent your school and community. Like those standards haven't changed. And I respect that. Right. And if it's not up for you, cool. You can bring the jersey back and you can go play somewhere else. It's all good, So I do really respect that. Yeah.
Okay. Next one.
Yeah.
This is an open-ended question, so I'm just going to say favorite team, whether that's a professional team or team you played on.
Oh, okay. Whew. Favorite team. Dude. You're killing me here. The 98 national championship was fantastic. It was great. Don't get me wrong. It was something, but it was not something that I ever envisioned when I was younger. I always envisioned trying to win a provincial championship. Like I said, from a young age, my dad would let us skip school for the day and go watch the provincials, watching Andrew Steinfeld rip down rebounds and scream and, Putzi and the list go on, right? And so to be able to represent Terry Fox, the school that Terry Fox actually walked the halls in, the old Poco High, to know his family and have his mom and dad at the games, and his brother there, and to realize what it meant to represent him, and then to be able to have it all come together and win the provincial championship at the Agrodome. I don't know, man. There's no greater feeling. Just a group of special guys. We went 40-2. We lost to Richmond once, and then we lost to a team from Portland. So those are those seasons there. You're just like, it was just magical, and we beat Richmond in the Beagle at our tournament. And then we just got absolutely, they drilled us by 35 at Richmond, the second time we played them. And then we faced them in the final. And so there was every reason for us to think this might not go well, but we had a rock solid group of guys and a great coaching staff. So that, it's hard not to be like when you win more than one, but it's to compare, but just that was something that was always ingrained in my head. So to be able to do it was really, really cool and really special. Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Was that a cop-out answer? How'd I do? Is that okay?
No, that was great. That was great. I was hoping you wouldn't say, I don't know, the LA Lakers or something easy.
No,
this is good. This is way better answer.
Okay, good.
Okay, last one before we let you go. Best player you played with or against?
Dude. Oh, okay. I played with a lot of great guys. Andrew Mavis, Eric Heinrichsen, Andy Knorr, Jordy McTavish, Kyle Russell, Aaron Olson. I'm missing a whole bunch. Dave Morgan. I'm missing a whole bunch of people. Against, though, we played when I was a U17 team. This was when there weren't many prep schools, and the Vegas tournament there was no gold B, C tier. It was there was 2 tiers, and that was it. But we went down to a tournament in Seattle one year, and this team had Tarek Brown, who was downtown Freddie Brown from the Sonics. Remember downtown Freddie Brown, the old dude? Him, and he ended up going to University of Washington, and Jason Terry were on the same team, the Jet. And they clapped us pretty good. We lost by about 55. Jason Terry was pretty impressive. Also played against an McDonald's All-American that summer too. His name was Sam Oakey. He's from Nebraska. 6'9", just thick white boy. Holy smokes, he was a load too. Yeah, though that would be like, that's a moment where I was like, those guys are way better at basketball than I am. You know, like you have these dreams and you're like maybe D1 or whatever, but then you play against dudes like that and you're like, whoa, like you're really, really freaking good. But played with and against so many great guys and great battles, such a privilege to be able to do so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was looking at the book again, and the MVP of that '94 tournament was Eric Heinrichsen, right? So
yeah, he's one of the few. I think one of the few who won MVP and didn't win it. Right? Their team didn't win it. There's only a handful. He averaged like 26 rebounds a game. Like
unreal.
Yeah,
unreal.
We just had Colin Charles on our most recent episode, and he's coming up here. I recorded with him yesterday. He went and played at St. John's. He played high school with Jamal McGlure, and he played junior national team with Heinrichsen. So I mentioned before we started, I said, Andrew Mavis and Heinrichsen are my guys. I said to say what's up. And he was like, Eric Heinrichsen he was stronger than Ron Artest. He played with Ron Artest at St. John's, Meta World Peace. He's like, that guy was one of the freakiest guys I've ever played with in terms of just his overall strength. It's like, yeah, man, that makes sense. So he was a beast.
Okay, sir, any last words before we sign off?
No, man, be good to each other. I appreciate you. I appreciate our relationship. Kudos to you. Props to you for doing this, man. Way to stick your neck out there and go for it. And I hope you know that you've got a brother and a friend here to help you out. Anything you need. I'm looking forward to seeing the podcast grow, and I hope people give it a follow and like. And if you want to hear some decent hoop stories, check out our show as well. But enjoy your spring break, and thank you for all you do for your own communities. And let's just keep growing and building, man. It was a pleasure, and I know this is going to be great. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I was just going to say, like, I have a lot to learn from you. I hope we can do this again, but I appreciate you being vulnerable, and I look forward to the next time.
Anytime, buddy. Maybe we got to do round 2,
I love it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Take care. We'll talk soon.
You bet, brother.